Welcome to MindPages, turning books into wisdom.
Today, we're diving into Charles Duhigg's incredible book, The Power of Habit. We're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden architecture that shapes, well, pretty much everything you do, from your morning coffee to your biggest life decisions. Just think about your morning. Waking up, checking your phone, making that coffee. Chances are you did it all on autopilot, right? But what if those aren't just a bunch of small, separate choices? What if they're all part of a powerful, invisible system that's quietly running your entire life?
So, how does this all work? Well, researchers at MIT discovered that at the very core of every single habit, whether it's biting your nails or going for a daily run, there's this simple three-part pattern in our brains. This is the basic machinery of your mind, and once you understand it, you've got the first key to taking control.
This is what they call the habit loop. It all kicks off with a cue. That's the trigger, like your alarm clock screaming in the morning, or that feeling of stress at work. The cue then launches the routine, which is the action itself. And finally, you get the reward, that little hit of satisfaction that tells your brain, hey, that worked, let's do it again.
Now, here's the really fascinating part. When your brain is actually in the middle of a familiar routine, it pretty much goes quiet. It's on autopilot, saving precious mental energy. The brain only lights up at the very beginning to see the cue, and then again at the end to feel that reward. It's this efficiency that makes habits so incredibly powerful, and honestly, so hard to even notice we're doing them.
And here's the kicker. Your brain is basically a pattern-making machine, not some kind of moral judge. It has no idea if a habit is good or bad. If a loop gives you a reward, any reward at all, your brain just goes ahead and strengthens it. The system itself is totally neutral. It's on us to decide which patterns we want to build. So if our brains are just automatically building these loops, does that mean we're stuck with them forever? Absolutely not. Duhigg gives us one single powerful principle for redesigning any habit. He calls it the golden rule. And this is the golden rule in action. See, you don't fight the cue, and you don't try to ignore the craving for the reward. You beat both. The only piece you swap out is the routine. So, for example, the cue is stress at work. The reward you're craving is a sense of relief. Instead of smoking a cigarette, you substitute a short walk. The loop stays perfectly intact, but the behavior is completely transformed. This is the formula, and it's so beautifully simple. You don't try to resist the trigger or deny the craving. Instead, you figure out the loop and then consciously plug in a new routine that gives you a similar payoff. This isn't really about raw willpower, it's about being smart, about redesigning the system. And that is the real key to making change that actually sticks. Okay, but it gets even more interesting. It turns out that some habits are just more important than others. They have this amazing power to set off a chain reaction of positive change that spreads through your entire life. Duhigg calls these keystone habits.
Just think of a keystone habit as one small win that creates this incredible momentum. It doesn't just change one single behavior. It starts to shake up and remake other patterns that seem totally unrelated. It creates this ripple effect that can seriously transform your health, your work, and your happiness.
Exercise is the classic example, right? When people start a regular exercise habit, they often, almost automatically, start eating healthier. Their productivity at work goes up. They sleep better. They feel less stressed out. The magic here isn't just about burning calories. It's about a shift in identity. Those small wins start to prove to you that, hey, maybe bigger change is possible too.
I love this metaphor because it's just perfect. Keystone habits are the leverage points for changing your life. So instead of trying to overhaul everything all at once, you just focus on one strategic habit. And that one tiny change can swing open massive doors to improvement across the board. But here's where this idea just explodes in scale. Because these same exact principles don't just shape our individual lives. They operate on a massive scale, shaping the habits of huge companies, entire markets, and even whole societies. Take a company like Starbucks. They don't just teach people how to make a latte, they systematically train their employees in the habit of willpower. They actually create pre-planned routines for how to deal with stressful moments, like a customer yelling at them. This turns great customer service from a random personality trait into a reliable, engineered corporate habit. Or how about this one? The famous and kind of creepy story about Target. By looking at tiny shifts in what their customers were buying, like switching to unscented lotion or buying certain vitamins, their computer models could predict if a woman was pregnant with scary accuracy, sometimes even before her own family knew. It's an incredible example of how much our unconscious routines reveal about us.
And this leads us to a really profound, very modern reality. In a world that runs on algorithms and big data, our collective habits, they've become one of the most valuable resources on the planet. And that gives immense power to anyone who can understand them, predict them, and influence them.
So where do these powerful forces actually live inside of us? To really get a handle on habits, we need to look at the physical wiring of the brain itself and how our actions literally reshape it.
See, deep down in your brain, there's this ancient structure called the basal ganglia. You can think of it as the home office for your habits. As a behavior becomes more and more automatic, the mental heavy lifting gets passed off to this part of the brain. This frees up your conscious mind, the prefrontal cortex, to focus on new things. It's basically the brain's ultimate efficiency hack.
And this brings us to a final, absolutely crucial insight. The neural pathways for your habits, once they're carved into your brain, they never fully go away. That's why old habits can pop back up when you're stressed. But, and this is the empowering part, you can always build new, stronger pathways that override the old ones. You can't delete the old code, but you can always write a better one on top of it.
So, as we finish up, I want to leave you with this question. Your life, right now, is really the sum of all these countless little loops running on autopilot. But if you could pick just one keystone habit, and apply that golden rule to change its routine, which one would it be? What is that one tiny hinge that could start to swing the biggest door in your life?